Welcome to the Referrals Podcast, the show designed to help everyone from the solopreneur to the Fortune 500 company win the referral game. If you want to build a company with an army of ambassadors and raving fans who speak highly of you and refer you willingly, you are in the right place. Let's meet your hosts, Chris Angel and Michael Maher.
Welcome back, everybody. It's another episode of the Referrals Podcast. I'm your co-host, Chris Angel, here with your host, as always, Michael J. Maher. Hello, Michael J. Maher.
Hello, Chris Angel. It's Referrals Podcast Day. You know how happy I am? Last time we started, I was like, hello, I just don't want to do this today. We got to. And I talked about commitment and all that. Today, it's like, oh my God, it's like I'm
fired up today.
I'm on fire. I'm ready.
You are on fire.
And you know what? I burnt my tongue 3 times today. I literally burnt my tongue twice on coffee and once on lunch. So it's like, I mean, that's how rushed and how like this, and yet, trying to get this into this all
and yet
day.
You're still going. You just power through all the burnt things. You just keep going.
But you know what? I'm gonna make my way through it for today's session. You know what I mean?
Good.
Today's episode, a burnt tongue is not gonna stop me from making today happen with Wendy Griffis. I'm just saying.
I love it. So good. Well, Wendy, speaking of Wendy, here you are. Hello, Wendy. Hello, Wendy Griffis. How are you?
I am good today. Thank you so much for having me on.
Absolutely. You're joining us from Jacksonville, Florida, yes?
Yes. Sunny and 80 degrees today, just saying.
Oh, don't rub it in. That's amazing. Oh, I love it. You've been in the real estate industry for 19 years, you said.
That
Yes?
is correct. Got my license right at the turn of 2000.
Beautiful. Yeah. And you're at Better Homes and Gardens.
Mm-hmm.
I love it. And you have a book. You flashed it on the screen here a minute ago. You should flash it again. Or was it?
It was Michael.
Michael flashed it. Michael flashed that book.
I sent him an autograph copy.
I love it. Just read the title for me, will you?
Recognize the difference.
Recognize the difference. I love it.
Get it today.
Get it today on your favorite.
It's a great book. Great book.
Well, I'm excited, Wendy, because we get to kind of unpack all your years of experience and the things that have been successful for you in our Referrals Podcast today. Michael, how do you know Wendy? How did this connection happen?
So Wendy came to us by referral, and she has been implementing the 7L system in concert with other systems that she's been trained on. And the beautiful thing is she's a master implementer, right? So she got it. She implemented it, put it into play, tweaked it to make it her own, and has been very, very successful with this in a very short time. She has been, people are like, what are you doing to be so dang successful? And so she started teaching informally, and she wanted to learn how to teach more formally. And she came to CRT, our Certified Referral Trainer event in Atlanta. And she is one of our top certified referral trainers. She just spoke in Vegas at a big event, and she also got a chance to launch her book there, Recognize the Difference, a great book. She is top of the top. She's a rising star in the training field. She doesn't want it to consume her like sometimes mine does me. So she's got her head on right about it. And she's got a really unique, fun way of generating business, generate leads for a lifetime and referrals for a lifetime. So that's how I know Wendy.
That's so good. I love it. Wendy, can we dive into the secret sauce of what you do and how you've done it? What do you call this thing?
So I don't really call it anything, but thank you for asking. I just want to piggyback on what Michael said. So I really am fortunate to be in his aura and area because he's had such a positive impact on my business. So really the secret sauce is me taking the time to really understand that I'm running a business and not just making sales, and that the business is selling houses, but truthfully, it's about relationships with people. And I think if you have the right mindset and then you create systems around that, it sets you up for a lifetime of referrals.
That's beautiful.
Love it.
I love it. I love it. What are some of the components? There's a lot of things for example, that Michael teaches with notes and how do you nurture these relationships? How do you build on these relationships?
Yeah, so I do want to share that when I saw Michael speak for the very first time, I bought the book, read his 7 levels, and the thing that really resonated with me was his communications pyramid. And if you haven't seen that, it's really impactful information, so definitely get the book to read it. But it talks about how your impact increases depending on the level of communication that you have. So at the bottom is advertising, electronic mail, and actually, hard mail. And at the top is one-on-one communication, doing events, writing personal notes, calling people. So that was kind of like a light bulb for me to how am I going to communicate with my customers? And I do the base level stuff, which is mailing to my database and sending emails. But truly the sweet spot is when you're doing personal notes, phone calls, client events, and one-on-one meetings. So that's really where I try and spend the most of my time.
Wow.
Yeah, the influential zone, right? The
Yes.
phone calls, the events and seminars, and then the one-on-one meetings with the big handwritten note follow-ups. So you're actually writing handwritten notes?
Yes. Oh my gosh.
No way. That's crazy.
What?
Yeah, that's amazing.
Unheard of.
It's so. What made you write? I know that this is about the lifetime value of a client, and I have to tell you that from a business level, and we're talking a high-level business level, everybody should know the lifetime. At the very least, just pencil it in. Take a blank sheet of paper and write down the lifetime value of a client, and figure out they come to you as a first-time home buyer. They don't refer anybody, right, at this stage. But first-time home buyer, second-time home buyer, right, move-up buyer, and then move-up seller to their third home, which is the one with the kids, right? And then they buy the treasure home, which is the kids are teenagers, and then they downsize, and then they move into the 55 plus.
Yep.
Do that, right? For your
Wow.
geographic area, for a realtor, calculate your lifetime value. Mortgage professional, calculate the lifetime value. If you know they're going to buy 6 or 7 homes in their lifetime, you should know the lifetime. And I will tell you that when you know the lifetime value of your client, you treat your clients a whole lot differently. You don't treat them like 10,000, you treat them like $1 million, because that's what you discover is a close to the lifetime value. That doesn't include the referrals.
Right. I was just thinking
Right.
referrals, right? Like referrals attached to that. Yeah.
So the key thing that, Michael, you were just talking about, which I think is really the mindset, is that real estate has historically been a very sales-oriented business where you get a potential client, you sell them a house, and you may have a great relationship with them, but then you move on to the next sale and then to the next sale. And the big aha was you need to stay in contact and, more importantly, value that relationship first. And if you do that over time, to your point, right, they'll buy a house and usually they'll sell and buy another one, possibly sell and buy another one. I have people, so I have 19 years in the industry. I've had one client that in that 19 years, they've only had 3 transactions. The one they bought, then they sold it and bought another one. But then I have another client who has probably done 8 or 9 transactions because he started out as a single guy and then he got married and they bought a house. He bought a house as a single guy. Then they got their married house. Then they had their 2-kid house, and then they're expanding to 3 kids in a different school district, and now they want to move to the beach, all within a 19-year period, and that doesn't even count the referrals. So that's—
I forgot about divorce too.
Yeah,
right. We haven't even talked about the figure half of your clientele is going to get divorced, right? So that leads to a whole nother lifetime value of a client.
But really, yeah. So that's, to me, that was a big aha when I realized that I am not in the business of OneUp Sales. I really want to have a career with this. And so how can I take care of people for the long term and understand that I might have someone that doesn't do business with me for 25 years, and that's okay too. But over the long term, if you have that mindset, it really is special.
Yeah, so it changes the way you treat people, right?
Yeah.
That's the thing about real estate in general, is that it's forever it's been treated as a product type business, transactional. The house is the product, and it's cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching. But what I discovered, and I think the entire industry is discovering, is that it's not a transactional industry. It's really not. It's not about the buying or selling. It's a relationship. It's a relational. It's a service. You are providing a service. The greatest realtor in the world isn't about how many homes they sell, right? Because that one person is only going to buy or sell one home in 7 years. So all they care about is how great was the transaction when I went through it, right? We're a service industry, not a product industry, right?
Yep. And that's just a mindset shift. And luckily I came on that concept early in my career.
Yeah.
And then you say, okay, I get the mindset. How do I implement it? Right. And that's where the 7L comes in, because it really gives you that foundation to build from there.
I want to, if I can just take a quick step back to, like, for most people, when they have a light bulb moment, like, you're like, okay, this is where I want to go. It totally clicks. Leading up to that moment, there are the limiting beliefs that kind of kick in. Like, is it really going to work? Or do I have time? Like, what were some of your limiting beliefs that were there before you crossed over and really blew up with it?
Yeah. So the thing about this type of system is that you have to have the faith that the work you're doing now will create the results in the long term. And so you have to be a giver. It's a generosity generation, and you have to give from a place of wanting to give, not I'm giving and then I'm going to get. And if you can have that mindset, like, okay, I'm just going to continue to pour into my people and give of myself to others, that I have to have faith that in the long run it's going to work out. And then now I can look back and go, wow, there was many years that I questioned, am I doing the right thing? Do people even value what I'm bringing to the table? And then I see the results now, and I'm so thankful that I had that faith.
I'm so glad you said that. I feel like a lot of people have that. Like, is this, and not even like before they take action, even after they take action, they're like, I don't know, I'm a year into it, I'm 2 years into it. Like, where's the stuff? Where is it gonna, like, is it happening? And I love that you're saying, just looking back now, you can see that it totally paid off.
Yep.
There's a very important point, right, that you're bringing up here is that you have to look long term, but you also have to realize that it may not take a long time, right? It might be a deal. You have a lunch with someone you've never met before, and you are there entirely for them. You're asking them questions, they're answering, you're providing a ton of value. You even have a connection or two for them that you're going to set. And don't be surprised if right at the end of that conversation they go, you know what, my sister needs to buy, or my sister needs to sell, or you know what, my neighbor has been talking about selling for quite a while. I should introduce the two of you, right? So it doesn't have to take a long time. That's the first thing. But there is this balance of, like, faith. I think that Wendy really hit it on the head is that, that generosity will lead to reciprocity, right? It's not, don't do generosity for the reciprocity, but have faith that the generosity will turn into reciprocity. And that I think that's one of the big struggles that we see out there is that they're great at giving, right? They're great at giving.
Yeah.
Where they tend to be poor is receiving. Like, there will be an opportunity hitting them over the head, and they will just walk through life with that opportunity, and it's only going to hit you in the head once or twice, right? And it's good as you are at giving. And some people are like, well, I'm just going to give and give and give. I'm looking for the long term. I'm looking for the long term. And the honest truth is, right next to them is the opportunity of a lifetime.
That's good.
Right? So it's like, we need to be giving, but we also need to be very open to receiving. And there's a great book by Adam Grant called Give and Take. Talks about the worst salespeople in the world are givers. Worst salespeople in the world are givers. Those that don't do very well in this business are takers. Those who do pretty well in this business are what's called matchers. They're always looking for, if I give you something, I want something back, right? But what he discovered is that there was also this group at the very top of the sales force in the world. We're talking people who make $1 million in sales every year, and I'm talking dollars in their pocket. And guess what? He discovered there was also a layer of givers at the very top of every industry. Well, what's the difference between the givers at the top, right, the roaring lions, and the sacrificial lambs at the bottom, right? Well, the difference is the lions had learned how to communicate what they wanted. They had learned how to receive, right? They were open to receiving as great as they were to giving. And it's just like, you know, you need to, I mean, I think that's part of what we're talking about here is that faith. Yeah, it's going to come back. It's going to come back. But if you're going to say it's going to come back, well, going to is a future tense. Say it's happening right now. You know, there's something right now that's coming back, you know.
Yeah.
So Michael, I have that book in my library. I was just about to go look for it. I love that book. It's a great concept. But I will say, and so in my book, the layer that I added about being able to receive really has to do, I think, with your competence in the industry also, because you can be the nicest, most caring person in the world, but if you are not good at what you do, people, that's just natural that, you know, they like you a lot, but I'm not going to put my biggest asset and my sale with you.
Right.
So you've got to have that balance between being competent and having the skills and continuing to grow those skills, and also then adding the level of care, because then you have really competent agents in the market, but then they might not care, right? So it's really about having both.
Let's get ready for referrals! In the red corner, we have the average agent working by advertising, learning on the fly, no systems, no profit, and no clients. And in the blue corner, we have what could be you, the profitable agent working by referral, loving life and loving their clients. Take your business to the next level and go to www.callwithcoach.com and set up your free referral coaching session. Go now, change your business forever. www.callwithcoach.com.
Well, I just want to know how you demonstrate that, Wendy. How do you demonstrate the competency piece of it?
Yeah, so that's really hard to do without being like, look, I sold 600 homes.
Right.
Look at my sales numbers.
I'm number one. I'm number one in my office. I'm number one in the city. I'm number one in this county. Whatever.
It's true, right? So I think from a competence standpoint, providing value to my customers, things that they can use that is useful information. So every month I send out a monthly market statistics so they know what the market's doing. I also, from a competence piece, am highly connected to general contractors and plumbers and, you know, all the service industries that serve the real estate space. So I always offer that to my customers. So I find that, you know, all week long I'm getting, do you know a good roofer? Our AC is out. Can you help us with that? Has nothing to do with the real estate transaction, but they know I'm connected and competent in my field that I can refer them to someone great.
And busy. Right? You must be busy if you need a roofer. You know, that's what we do with a lot of the newer agents who are implementing, and the, you know, newer lenders, is that start asking for those things right now. And people will assume you have clients and you are busy because you're asking for roofers, you're asking for contractors, you're asking, and honestly, you should build your network with those types of people anyway. Start building your team along with building your business. And it's amazing how both of those will go in sync. You'll start getting leads and referrals simply because you're doing that activity, right?
Yeah.
So I love what you said earlier. Is forever I have been teaching the 3 components of referability, and I have to tell you that I think you might have added one, right? And so I've been taught forever: character. Right? You got to be honest. You got to be full. You got to do the right thing every time, even when it's not easy, and even when it's going to cost you money. Competence, right? So character, competence. Character is doing the right thing. Competence is doing things right. And you got to be good at what you do. You got to know how to write the contract. You got to know how to negotiate. You got to know how to work in your best interest. You got to know how an inspector and an appraisal works and how a lockbox works, right? and then the third one is communication. And the thing is you can have high character and be really good, but if nobody knows about it and you don't know how to communicate in a way that doesn't come across as bragging, then those two don't matter, right? So it's communication. But I have to tell you, and some people might say, well, that's part of character, or that's part of competence, or that's part of communication. But care, right? I think care. You've got to care. You've got to care what your clients think. You've got to care about your clients. You got to care about your sponsors. You got to care about your plumber, you know, and you got to care. If you don't care, then it doesn't matter. So I love that.
Yeah. Well, the care piece, I think, is what creates that lifetime. component, right? Because
Yeah.
if you can be really good at what you do, but if the people know that you care about them, then they will come back again and they'll refer you because they know that that you will honor their trust. And that's really at the end of the day.
Yeah.
I'll throw myself under the bus on this one. I mean, I care about people. If I think about who I am, I care about people. I do. I care about people.
Like for several days now. And I know.
Listen.
I mean, I know you don't care.
I care about people. I do. I care about people. But if I think about like how I become intentional in my work about it, there's a block, right, where it feels like a lot of work. It's really heavy. Like I'm gonna have to write a handwritten note. Like there's some baggage around the expression of how I feel. I feel like I care, but then there's the expression of it out in the world.
You mean communication?
Okay.
The expression of how you feel is communication. I wrote a book on that. It's called You should read that, dude. Seriously, right here, right? Yes. This is it. It's like expression of feeling equals communication.
Come on.
Hey, listen, if you decide, you know what?
Michael Maher signed it. Look at that. You signed it.
Oh, man, I don't have a signature on mine. Hey, Chris, can I talk to that for a second?
Yes, I want you to. Yes.
Yeah.
So one of the primary things in the communication pyramid is personal notes. And I will share that I always cared, but to your point, like how do you express that?
Right.
And I found, and this is probably why I love writing personal notes, is if you follow the system, which is really about looking at the other person and writing something that you admire in them or that you like about them, the process of writing that down, it's a very gratitude, thankful place to be. It will start to crack open your care. And it's really hard to write a note that says, I really appreciate how kind you are and your support, and thank you for being an amazing client of mine, and not have this connection with the person on the other side receiving it. I don't know how they're going to get it, but I know when I write it, I feel good.
That's so good.
So the more you do of that, the more you're going to open up that care.
That is a powerful psychological thing that she's talking about. The power of positive projection, right? There is a mental, I truly believe Dr. Karl Menninger was one of the greatest psychiatrists to ever be on this planet. And he not only was a great psychiatrist, he also taught other psychiatric top doctors. And he was asked one time, like, what do you do when you know someone's on the verge of an extreme mental breakdown or depression, right? Like, what would you prescribe? He's in front of it. Now, you got to realize, psychiatrist is different than a psychologist. Psychologist cannot prescribe medicine. A psychiatrist believes, in most cases, that a pill solves it all, right? So when he was asked this question, they were like, what would you prescribe? And they were waiting for this magical formula pill that he would prescribe. Now, Dr. Karl Menninger is from Kansas, by the way, just throwing that out there. So he thought about it for a second, and he goes, you know what I'd tell that person is I would not prescribe a pill. What I would prescribe is more powerful than any pill. What I would do is I would tell that person to get up out of their chair. I would tell them to go take a shower. I would tell them to brush their hair. I would tell them to go to their front door, open their front door, go out that front door, go across the railroad tracks, and help someone in need. And that's what I would tell. And I would tell them to execute on that daily, take that one pill daily, and they will never have to worry about a mental breakdown or depression later. I truly believe the same thing of a handwritten note. Now, I don't have any clinical evidence that you can solve depression with a handwritten note, writing handwritten notes. But there's a part of me that it's like that would be stronger than a pill. That would be more effective than a pill. So, Wendy, you hit it on the head with that, right? Wendy is so brilliant. You know what I mean?
I just live it.
Like, she's brilliant and like super humble. So it's a tough combo, right? The brilliant and the arrogant are really easy to deal with, right? yeah, right. But brilliant and humble, I love it. Great comment.
Well, thank you. But I would tell you, I can only speak to it because I came through that journey, right? And so I'm on the other side of that personal growth. by just really writing personal notes. That's impacted my business. And then the other piece, Chris, back to your original question, which was, what do I implement of the system? I also do a lot of client parties, which is a great way to connect one-on-one with people and open up that care, that heart a little bit more.
Yeah, you're showing you care.
Yeah, exactly. Demonstrating it in person, one-on-one.
Exactly. Don't tell them when you can show them. The handwritten note shows them you care, right? An event or a party shows them you care. You don't even have to say, I care about all of you. You don't have to write in a note, I care about you. You don't have to write it. Yeah, when they get it, it's like, well, obviously they do care about you. In fact, if you wrote, I care about you in there, then it's just like, wait a second, it's like a double positive makes it negative. You know what I mean?
If you think about like the 80-20 rule, 20% of the things we do give us 80% of our results. Would you say that the notes and the events are have been the 20% for you?
For sure. So one of the things that I find is I'm pretty busy, right? And so I want to stay in contact, but it's really difficult because I've got transactions, coming in, roofs leaking, all sorts of stuff happening. And but when I slow down enough to host a client party, right, that gives me a couple of hours to connect with my customers and in a deeper way that I can see more people in that time frame than if I tried to do individually along the way. So it allows me to really create a great foundation. And I had a client party a couple weeks ago. We had a fiesta lunch for the 7 families that are in my book. So each of them have a client story in the book. And one of the guys said to me, he said, it feels like a family reunion every time we come back, right? Because they've been coming for years and years and they're getting to know my other customers. So it's really a great way to create like a little tribe. People support me.
I feel like that type of an experience can't happen unless you keep doing it over time. Like that whole thing about like you commit to the plan, the process, that this is what I'm committed to doing to nurture relationships, and you keep doing it over time, you actually end up with that type of magic, in your tribe of people.
It's true. I think we're on our 12th annual pumpkin patch. So that's one of our signature events.
Wow. That's so powerful.
I love that. She said signature event, right?
Yeah, I probably host about 3 to 5 events a year.
Yeah. So tell us about, part of you've got these client parties that are smaller, more intimate, like a top type of thing. And then you've got your signature events, and you said you do 3 to 5 of those a year. So other than the pumpkin patch, what else do you do that's kind of a signature event?
So what I found was hosting an event in October, which is usually a great time of year. Yeah. Left the rest of the year kind of empty. So I wanted something in the middle of the year. So I do National Ice Cream Day. I host at an ice cream shop. It's really easy to put on. We put out coloring books. I got a balloon guy, and people come in, they have ice cream. We, socialize a little bit, and then they're off. So National Ice Cream Day is the 3rd Sunday in July.
That's a winner. Yeah, July 21st this year. Put it on your books.
That's right. They can count on that.
The first time I can eat ice cream. I'm losing weight. I'm down 14 pounds, by the way. And so I'm going to celebrate on July 21st, maybe even with Wendy.
Yeah, come on down to Jacksonville.
Yeah.
And then I do
twist my arm very hard to go to Jacksonville. I love Jacksonville.
It's a good place. Yeah. And then I do a Luck of the Irish in March.
Nice.
So, and that's my VIP event where we get a lot of gifts and raffles and everybody's winning. And what I found with the ice cream party and the pumpkin patch is that attracted a lot of families, which is, I've got a lot of families, but there's a lot of my database doesn't have kids, or they'd like to leave the kids at home, right, and have an adult. So it's more of a happy hour with beverages and hors d'oeuvres, and then lots and lots of prizes.
Awesome. That's so good. I love it. I love it. Well, let's leave everybody with some wisdom here, like in terms of, a lifetime of referrals. How would you boil that down? What does it come down to?
So I think what it comes down to is, Chris, to your point earlier, consistency, right? Being consistent. Every December, I sit down, I look at my year in advance, I plan my marketing calendar and what I'm going to do, what touches I'm going to do, and how I'm going to do it. And then I execute, right? Like at the end of the day, if the pumpkin patch is on the calendar, we're doing it because I put it on the calendar. And And if you do that over time, and that's, I remember there were years I'm like, should I be doing this? But over time, it will create this result. So the big kind of aha that I realized is that as you're doing sales, create a business for your lifetime. And if you do it right and stay consistent, your database is going to be your leads for your future. So when I sell somebody a house today, that's my future pipeline of a seller and potentially another buyer. And I just look at it that way. And I know that that could happen in 4 years. That could happen in 25 years. But at some point, they're going to need to sell that house. And if I do a good job caring for them and demonstrating my competence, they'll come back. And then I don't have to go generate a new lead because I've got them in my pipeline for the future.
So good. So good. So good. Michael, anything from you?
Well, we need to recognize the difference that Wendy brought to the table, right? Is that Wendy thinks long-term, think big, work small, right? Think big, work small.com, by the way. I have that .com.
Hey,
but why do I have that .com? Because it's so important, right? Think big, think long-term, think that you're going to be in the business forever, even if you don't know if you're going to be or not. But think like you're going to be in the business forever, but work small. Work every day, in your niche, nose to the grindstone. So and we have to, break our time down to when do we think big and when do we work small, right? Think big about once a week and then work small the rest of the week, right? And she has a phenomenal system that executes, and she's a master implementer. She continues to implement and kicks. But you got to realize her system costs almost nothing to implement, right? With the events, she has sponsors that we didn't even really talk about a lot. So that's totally offset. She's zero-based her signature event and her other events. And the handwritten notes cost, a couple bucks a piece. And it's very inexpensive to run this. If you take your marketing dollars that you used to take and chase strangers and instead applied it to communicating with friends and having de facto family reunions with your clientele, you will win. You will win the war and enjoy the battle, and you will win the referral game. Wendy is maybe the greatest, one of the greatest examples of how you win the referral game. And look at her. She's freaking happy. It's just like there is a glow about somebody who's doing business this way. And Wendy has it, right?
Michael, you bring up such a good point. And I think we lose that piece is that when you chase strangers, that's not a fun daily exercise, right?
Yeah. What's the face of that person?
Yeah, but when you communicate with someone who loves you and thinks you're amazing and can't wait to share you with their friends, every day it's a joy to wake up and be surrounded by that support. It's really great.
That's perfect. Well, Wendy, the name of your book again is what?
Recognize the Difference.
And if people want to get that, they can get it on Amazon or on your website. Where do they go to get your book?
Yeah, so it's on Amazon on paperback and then at wendygriffis.com for hardback.
I love it. And if people have a referral for you,
go to Wendy's site, get the hardback.
Yeah, get the hardback
book. It's a hardback book.
I'll even sign it. I'll sign it if you get it through my website.
What?
Nice. What?
Be careful what you promise.
I know, right?
2 more opportunities. I know if people want to bring you in to speak, because you're a CRT, if people want to bring you in to speak, or they have a referral for you in Jacksonville, or just want to learn more about what you do, how do people reach you? What's the best place to go?
Yeah, so my website has all my contact information. So it's wendygriffis.com. I love connecting through social media on Facebook and LinkedIn. So you can find me there. I have a business page, an author page, and I'll friend anybody. So if you friend me, I will friend you back.
Nice. Perfect. Love it. Wendy, thanks for being on the show today. Everybody listening, if you want to get to the 7 steps to a power note, right? Because that's part of the 20% for Wendy that made the 80% of the difference. You can go to referralspodcast.com and you can get the 7 steps to a power note. Michael, thanks so much. Congratulations on your baseball victories here at the time of this recording. And it's always a pleasure. I always love talking about the human side of what makes all of this work. And I love that we've been able to put that in a business context. So,
Chris, have you read To Human is to Sell? To Sell is Human.
I don't think I've read that. No, I should read that.
I think that'd be a great next read after 7L, of course. You should probably read 7L if you're going to be on
You signed this a year ago and I still haven't read it. I mean,
that doesn't do it, right? Just because you read what I wrote doesn't mean you read the book. You did open and read part of the book, so it's all good.
I promise.
I know.
All right. Thanks for another great episode. See you guys next time.
Thank you.